Okay guys, you asked, we listened. Here is our version 2 of double-sided print and cut. And let me tell you, I really think this is going to be a very informational video. There's gonna be lots of stuff thrown at you. Please do not feel stressed about it. You can rewatch this video, take notes, because it is going to take a little bit of figuring things out to do multiple double-sided print and cuts on one sheet. So definitely stick around because I think you're gonna love this. If by chance you are new here, my name is Lauren and I'm a craft producer here at Makers Gonna Learn, where we love to bring you inspiration, education, and motivation to get your Cricut machine out and to actually start using it. Now, if you see any files or fonts that we use inside this video and you're new and not already a member, check that first link down below. We have an amazing offer for you where you can try us out for $1. What that does is that gives you 7 days unlimited access to our website. You get 20 download credits, meaning you can download 20 different things from our website, whether that be 20 fonts or 20 files. And then if you do not cancel within those 7 days, you just become a monthly member. But I promise you, I think you're gonna love everything that we have to offer. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to our share screen and let's start answering all of those questions that you had about double-sided print and cut. Okay, so the first question that we had is, how do you do multiple double-sided print and cuts on one page? And y'all, I'm here today to show you exactly how we're gonna do that. We are gonna be creating some playing cards. I do know that's something that somebody had mentioned. How would you do it if you wanted to do playing cards? So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do multiple on one page, and we're gonna make a couple playing cards at the same time. So what you see here is going to be a file that if you are a member, you're gonna be able to download, and you can use this as a template for the size that you can, the cut area for print and cut. Now, why is this important? The reason that this is so important is because we want to put all of the things that we are going to be doing double-sided print and cut within this area and attach them before they ever go to the print screen. That is what is going to keep everything lined up exactly where you need it to go. So that is why we are pulling this in first, so that I can walk you through, and you're gonna see throughout this tutorial why this is so important. So the first thing that you need to do is go over to Makers Gonna Learn, grab this file. It's gonna be named Print and Cut Guide. And from there, this is where you are going to start. Now, it doesn't matter if you are doing a square, a circle, a heart, whatever shape you want to do, this is where we need to start. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to be doing some playing cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and start grabbing. I'm going to grab a shape that's going to represent our playing card. So I'm going to come over here to shapes. I'm going to grab this guy, this rounded corner rectangle, and then I am going to just go ahead and type in the dimensions that I need. So for a playing card, a normal size is going to be 2.5 by 3.5. So I'm just gonna leave it at 2.5 width and then change the height. I'm gonna make sure that it is unlocked because it is going to be a little less proportional. It's gonna be very proportional, but I just want to make this and stretch this down. So I did unlock it, and then we're gonna type in 3.5 here. And this is going to be a standard size for a playing card. Now, one thing I am going to do, okay, so what I did is I just changed the color of our print and cut guide here so that you can see it a little bit better. But we are going to bring this to the front, and now what you're going to want to do is determine how many of these playing cards can we fit within this guide. So we're just going to duplicate, we're going to line them up where we want them. Because this is 2.5 by 3.5, you are only, unfortunately, going to get 4 on a page. If you do business cards or other things, you can get more on a page, but right now it's really 4 is all we can get. So you can see here, the 4 fits well. I mean, even if we moved it and got it super close, you can see we just don't have the room to have any more than 4, even when we turn them sideways. For this specific one, I would just stick with 4, kind of put them towards the middle we'll manipulate and figure out. I'll show you how to do that later on. But right now, we're just making sure that they fit within the print and cut guides. Now, if you wanted to do something other than a square, I'm gonna leave these over here and bring it over here. And let's say you wanted to do, I don't know, maybe a heart. What you're gonna do is you are just going to place your basic shape throughout your page, no matter what type of shape it is. And you do want to go ahead and size it to the size that you are going to be designing. And what we are going to do, and I was just showing you a heart as an example, but after you have all of your shapes placed within the guide, so to make sure they fit, what we're going to do is we're just going to pull that guide over to the side, and you are going to select all of the shapes you are working with. And what we are going to do after that is we're just going to attach those together. Okay? Now, stick with me. We're going to start designing our playing cards. Once we have attached that, we're actually going to hop over to the Makers Gonna Learn website. I'm actually in the pattern section, and I think I'm going to first choose what I want on the back of my playing cards. You can see we have some super cute patterns. I love all of these patterns. This one is really, really cute, but I think for playing cards, I wanna go with this for some reason. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna download that. You're going to open that up, make sure that you unzip this zipped file. And then while you're on the website, what I suggest is just going ahead and grabbing everything while you're here on the website. So I'm just gonna grab a heart. We'll just make 4 heart cards today. We do have a couple spade and club images that you could use if you are wanting to create cards, but we're just gonna grab a heart. This one's my favorite. I know I already have it downloaded. If you don't, click that arrow pointing down, unzip that file, and we're just gonna hop back over to Cricut Design Space. One thing I am gonna do, I am gonna change the color of my cards to white, and let me change the background, my canvas background, to this color so that you can really see it show up very well. So what I'm gonna do to upload, let's say the wavy checkerboard background, I'm gonna come over here to upload. We're going to upload image. I'm gonna pull my Finder in and I'm going to drag and drop. I just want the PNG, I want it to be black and white. So I'm personally chose the PNG. We're just gonna click continue, apply and continue, and I want to use this as a flat graphic. And then we're just going to upload that onto our computer. Now, this is gonna be our background image. I'll show you what we're gonna do with that here in a minute. So remember I said that we already had the heart uploaded. If you've already uploaded any image that you want to use and you don't see it right here under recent uploads, go over here to the right where it says view all, click that, and now you can search all of your uploads. You don't have to upload it every single time. So we're just gonna search heart, and you can see all of these hearts that we have uploaded. You can see there's the heart, the same heart uploaded 3 times. So there are lots and lots. You can see we re-upload a lot, but you can, if you've already downloaded it or uploaded it into Design Space, just search for it. So we're going to select that we're wanting. We're gonna add that to Canvas, and then we're just gonna go back to our canvas. Now you're just going to start the design process. So we're just going to quickly design some cards. It's not gonna be anything fancy. I am gonna go ahead and contour out the middle of that heart so it is a solid heart, and we'll even change the color of that heart. We'll change it from black to red, and then I'm just going to duplicate that. We'll do a 2 here. Once you have your placements right, now also do not judge me for my placements. I'm doing this off the fly with you guys to show you how you can do double-sided print and cut. I am also going to grab a text. Let's do maybe funky record. Yeah, we'll do funky record for our numbers and letters, and we'll do there and then here. And then we will duplicate. Now, we do have everything placed where we want them, but you can see that it is all still separate. That is perfectly fine. We don't want them all, we're not gonna flatten yet, but because before you flatten, we need to take the attached cards that we created first, and we need to go ahead and duplicate those as well. And you could have done this before we started designing. It would have not been a problem, but we need a front side and a back side, and we want them to stay lined up perfectly. So you can see we've attached them. That's why we just went ahead and duplicated that layer before flattening these together. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to flatten all of this together exactly where it needs to go. We're just gonna hit flatten. You can see nothing really changed that much. That is perfect. Now we're gonna start building the back of our cards. And this is where I really want you guys to pay attention, because it may take a minute for you all to really understand and figure this out. So what we need to do, because this pattern image does not fit within this, we could build everything within our template before and it not be a problem. That is fine. If you run into an issue like this where you're like, oh, I need to slice this out, no worries. What you now need to do is come over here and start working from the layers panel. So what we're gonna do is we are going to detach this, and we are going to select the wavy pattern and select the rectangle that is behind it. So you can do that from the layers panel, or you can just click and drag around those two, and you can see there it is, and there is the wavy pattern. Now what we're going to do is we are going to slice that out. It should just slice out the outside. Beautiful, just like that. Now, what we need to do is just go ahead and get rid of that white card behind it as well. You can see here, I'm still not moving this one. I do not want it to move at all. And actually, if you don't want your template to move, what I would do is just go ahead and select that white layer and come over here and select all of your other white layers. Go ahead and attach those back together and then send them toward the back. So now all you have to do is grab your slice result or your pattern or whatever you're putting on the back. We're gonna duplicate it. And this is where you may want to move in pretty close, because now after we've duplicated it, we're gonna move it and we're gonna line it up perfectly with that white card. We're gonna duplicate it again. We're gonna line it up with this one exactly where it needs to go. That one was just a hair off. Once again, do not be afraid to zoom in if you have to, okay? And then finally, we're gonna duplicate and we're going to place that one there as well. Now, you see all of our slice results. We're going to select them all from the layers panel. They are lined up according to our guide. That one was a little bit down. So selecting them all, we are going to flatten them together, okay? So now we can see when we zoom back out, we have our front and our back that line up perfectly with because we attached. Now before we move on, if for some reason you are wanting to put words on the back of your double-sided print and cut, you need to keep this all separate in your brain. You need to remember, okay, this is the front, this is the back. If you are putting words on the back of your double-sided print and cut, I'll pull in a text box. Let's type in, Maker's Gonna Learn. Let's change the color to some bright green. And then we'll just go ahead, we'll bring it over here. We'll go ahead and add an offset on it too. Why not? We'll bring the offset down to like 0.2, 0.15. We'll apply that. We'll change it to white, selecting both of them, and then we'll just size this down. We'll zoom in. Line it up on the back where it needs to go, okay? Now, hear me out. I'm going to, no matter what it is, whether you have an offset or not, what we have to do, you can see I have my offset and my letters both selected. We need to flip them horizontally, okay? We need to go ahead and turn them around backwards, okay? They need to be reversed before we send it to our page, and I will show you why here in just a minute. This is just for our friends who wants to have words on the back of their card. If you do not want words on the back of your cards, don't worry about it, okay? So once you have flipped them all, we are going to select all of that, flatten it all together. You can see, turns out looking pretty good. Now what you're going to do, we're going to zoom back out. I would keep this as a guide, hide that. Keep this as your guide, hide that. Now you have the front and back of your first selection of print and cut cards. So what we are doing now, we are just going through the same process that we did in the last video, but let's go through it together so we know exactly what we're doing. We're gonna go to Make It. We are going to start with the front of our cards. Now, you cannot see these because they are white. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you start with your front. Now, I did go back and change the color of my cards from a white to a light pink so that you all can see it on the screen. So what you need to do is you need to hug your double-sided, the front of your double-sided print and cut. We're hugging that up against that corner as close as we can. Now, once again, before I go to print, I'm going to let you guys know, knowing your printer is going to be the most important part. Now, we had a friend in our last video ask, what if we don't have a back-loading printer or a rear-loading printer and we only have one that loads from the front? Never fear, you are still going to do the same concept. So, we'll go overhead. You are going to start with a piece of paper and you are going to put an X in one of the four corners. Now, my suggestion is you start with the top right. So I'm going to put an X here in the top right. No matter whether you put your paper in the rear tray or you put it here in the bottom tray, neither one of those matter. What matters is that the X that is in the top right of your paper gets put in the top right when you lay it down. So you can see when we're laying it in our tray, we are still laying with the X in the top right. If we are putting it in our rear tray, we are placing it in our rear tray with the X, once again, in the top right. That is going to be the most important thing, is learning how your printer prints. Now, the way ours prints is if I put it in my printer with the X on the top right, my print is actually going to be down here. So you just have to learn your printer, and the easiest way, like I said, is starting out with your X in the top right, whether it is a bottom tray load or a rear load. Either one, it's not going to change, because what you're going to do is once it prints, you're going to see where the top right is. So whether it prints up here in the top right, in the left-hand top, bottom, wherever, what you will then do, no matter where it printed, you're going to still look at your print, act like you're laying it down with your X still in the top right, and then what you would do is flip it opposite, no matter where it prints. We're just going to make sure after it prints that X goes back in the top right, and then we're gonna flip. Once you have loaded your paper, we're gonna go to Send to Printer. We are using our Canon TS9500 series today. I am adding bleed because we do have full color, and I always use System Dialog. So we're gonna hit Print. It's gonna pop up behind here. We want to feed from rear tray and turn our quality to best, and then we're going to hit Print. So you can see, like I said, mine printed down here in the bottom, so I would normally, that's where it should be. But because I put my X in the top right, when I'm placing it in my printer, like I said earlier, whether it is a bottom feeding tray or we're placing it in the rear tray, we are placing it with the X in the top right like we put it, but then we're just going to flip it this way. Same thing with our rear tray. We're gonna place it there. We see that's where it's supposed to go. We're just gonna flip it to the left side. Once you have flipped it and placed it in your printer, you're then going to go to your back side. We are going to click mirror on, and you can see that is where it flips it to this side, the opposite side, and that is why we mirror our text in the canvas and not on our cut screen. So once we mirror it back to where it's supposed to go, we're gonna zoom in like we did on the first, and we're gonna hug that up to the opposite corner, just like that. Once you have done that, we're gonna go to continue, and we're going to print the back side on the same sheet of paper. And y'all, you can see this double-sided print and cut turned out perfect. I mean, you all can even see how well it lines up through the pink with the black checkered on the background on the back. That's one way you can check it. That's the way I always like to check it, is I like to hold it up to a light and see how well it did. And y'all, I think this one is going to be perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the front side of our card, and we're actually going to load the front side on the mat the way that it should be, just like this. We're gonna take our brayer, we're gonna bray that down onto the mat really well. We'll go back into Design Space, and we are going to be cutting this on medium cardstock. One thing you definitely need to make sure that you do, if you have just printed the back of your double-sided print and cut, make sure that you go back and select the front side, the mat for the front side, before you go to try to cut. Otherwise, it's gonna try to read registration marks on the opposite side. So make sure you have the correct mat selected for what is facing up on your mat. And once your Cricut has cut your cards, this is what you should end up with. Now, we didn't show our Cricut cutting our cards because we did have some issues and we had to switch machines and reprint and all of that stuff, but this is what we did end up with using the exact same steps that I showed you earlier. Now, I will say this, you can barely see it, but this one was off just a smidgen. You can see a little bit of white around the edge there and there. You can't see it on all of them, but you can see it on some more than others. But y'all, I really don't think that that amount matters. So what I would do after I made these is I would send them through the laminator if you wanted to, and now you have your own custom set of playing cards that you can make at home. These are great little DIY gifts for your friends, family. Now, one other thing that I did want to touch on, someone made a great suggestion and said, why would you not just print on the white side of printed cardstock? And you know what? You absolutely can do that, especially if you have a printer that is a 12 by 12 printer. Of course, most pattern cardstock does come on a 12 by 12 sheet. If you can find an 8.5 by 11 and only have an 8.5 by 11 printer, you can do that as well. But the only thing with printed cardstock is it is a little bit more flimsy. It's about a 60 to 65 pound weight versus a medium cardstock being an 80 pound weight. So that's just gonna be your preference. If you want something a little less flimsy, you can do that. You don't even have to worry about double-sided print and cut if you're doing a pattern. But like I showed you guys today, if you want to do words on it, you can do that. There is a process, but that is exactly how you're gonna do it. Now, like I said, I know this has been so much information today. Go back, rewatch 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 times, however many times you need to really grasp the concept. Make sure you go to makersgonnalearn.com, grab that print and cut guide that we are providing for our members. And if you're not a member, make sure you click that first link down below and sign up for $1. I mean, what do you have to lose? If you have enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time we get crafty. And if this video is for some reason the first time you're ever seeing double-sided print and cut, make sure you you go back to our first video so you can really grasp the basics, and then come to this video next, rewatch it so you can learn how to do multiple on one page. And you can find that video here.